course, you always pay your taxes when they're due. But imagine a world in which there are no taxes, where laws and regulations can be adjusted according to your own wishes. Wouldn't we all love to live in such a world? To make this tax-free universe as visible for you as possible, we'll take you on a world tour, from Norfolk to Nairobi, from Long Island to London, and from Amsterdam to Dubai. Here's what you can expect.
I love the phrase that we're looking for neutral taxation. It actually means no tax, by the way.
And actually, we now know where the money is. It's parked in these offshore havens.
You know, we're greedy. We're greedy people. We are in a battle with each other and our governments to survive.
This is Backlight. Welcome on board the tax-free tour.
They sell 20 million iPads a year for about $500 retail. That's $10 billion. In China, they've been employing about 1.2 million Chinese workers, and they pay about $40 to $50 a piece for those iPads. So the iPads that they're selling for about 10 times what they're buying from China. So China realizes about $800 million out of the 10 billion. Where does the rest of the $10 billion go? Well, they park about $2.2 billion of royalties offshore on low-tax havens. So the total gross margin on all this is about $6 billion, and the total effective tax, we've looked at Apple in the last year, they've paid about 1.9% tax, corporate tax rate in the United States. Remember, the United States effective tax rate is 35%. Dennis Healey, the former UK Chancellor, said the difference between evasion and avoidance is the width of a prison wall. So when you're into this kind of higher echelon tax gaming, you know, the rules are very flexible.
How is it that Apple pays only 1.9% tax on its profits generated outside the US? To understand this, allow me to take you on a tour through a world that, for most of us, is hidden from view. A world in which the capital flows of multinationals are structured and sometimes make a quick stopover in the Cayman Islands, Cyprus, or Amsterdam. A so-called offshore world that exists behind physical and virtual walls, and where little or no taxes are paid.
My day job as a corporate investigator is looking at offshore structures, tax haven structures of companies that our clients are going to invest in. So it's looking at their relationships, it's looking how they acquired their wealth to begin with, and it's looking at their the corporate structures that they employ. And often these will be long, complicated, completely mysterious chains involving different tax havens. Something called, say, for example, the Cyprus sandwich, where you might have a Ukrainian company, so Ukrainian assets, which are then owned by a Cyprus company, that's then owned by a Luxembourg company, that's then owned by a Cyprus company, that then goes off in 5 different ways to Belize, British Virgin Islands, and the Cayman Islands and Panama. And this is the stuff we're looking at. And we have to, well, I think in that case, it's pretty clear that things aren't very clear and aren't transparent.
Allow us to introduce business intelligence investigator William Britton Catlin. On behalf of major financial institutions, he delves into the shadow side of global capital flows.
So this is this is what we're looking at. Here's our Cyprus sandwich. goes up to Belize. I mean, it's very confusing to work out what's going on here. I mean, there's no rational explanation for what is happening, but you can see that all these individuals here at the top, Mr. A, Mr. B, C, D, E, and F, are all ultimately holding these assets through a series of chains, levels, cutouts. They're in Belize, and these probably, we would think, would go back to bank accounts in Switzerland. So this may not even be the end of it.
How does Apple succeed in only paying 1.9% tax on its profits generated outside the US? If foreign profits were to flow back to Apple's headquarters, the company would have to pay 35% corporate income tax. So Apple prefers to direct the foreign profits to a subsidiary in Ireland, where corporate income tax is much lower, 12.5%. But before that, profits are first looped through the Netherlands, where intellectual property is subject to little or no tax. The reduced profits then pass through another Irish subsidiary and on to the British Virgin Islands, where corporate income tax is nil. Apple is considered a pioneer on this tax route, which is commonly known as double Irish with a Dutch sandwich.
Let's see who uses this tax haven system. I mean, you've got to see the tax haven offshore financial system as being part and parcel of the mainstream economic system. I mean, there's a pretty much a complete integration between one and the other. So the money is flowing around. It's not complicated. I mean, there are these options out there, and you use them, you explore them, you see what you can do, and what you're looking at is a map which is, it's not a uniform financial economic world out there, especially when it comes to tax and where you can place your money and how it's taxed. There are different rates all over the world. So you take advantage of the different rates. I mean, it's kind of fairly obvious, really.
It became clear over time that this offshore industry was growing, but surprisingly enough, nobody had made any estimates of the size and growth of the industry. You'd expect the World Bank or the IMF to take an interest in this. They have all these economists. The OECD does a lot of work on tax havens, but nobody had ever quantified the size of the offshore industry. And so,
why is that, you think?
Well, it's a very controversial subject. I mean, the World Bank spent a lot of time studying poverty and measuring it endlessly, but they don't study inequality.
Lawyer and investigative journalist James S. Henry used to work as chief economist for the McKinsey consultancy. In his spare time, he calculated the amount of capital that is parked in the global offshore industry, a calculation that neither the IMF nor the World Bank have ever ventured to undertake. That makes Henry's very conservative estimates the first of their kind and undisputed to date.
It's kind of like estimating the size of a black hole. We came up with a headline number of $21 to $32 trillion as of the year end 2010, which is an astonishing figure. Nobody else had ever done that. The embarrassing fact is that the rich countries in the world, supposed to be the most responsible and so-called developed countries, are running this kind of shell game for the world. We figure that of the $21 to $32 trillion of offshore wealth owned by private individuals, about a third of that is from the developing world.
The tour soon takes us to the Netherlands. Surprisingly, they are an important global hub for reducing the tax burden of multinationals. This country has the most tax treaties in the world, and this, combined with very low tax rates on intellectual property, makes 91 out of the 100 largest companies in the world want to let their revenues flow through the Netherlands.
Dus het hele Robeco Afrika Fonds. Die zitten in Botswana, Egypte, Ghana, Kenia, Mauritius, Nigeria.
Financial journalists Siem Eikelenboom and Gabi de Groot have been mapping the tax evasion routes of multinationals to gain a better understanding of the routes and the sheer scope of the capital flows.
Wat je bijvoorbeeld ziet, dat een van de grootste bedrijven ter wereld, de Amerikaanse supermarktketen Walmart, die heeft hier, ik geloof, 6 entiteiten in Nederland. Is hier helemaal niet operationeel actief. Nou, dan weet je bijna dus per definitie waarom zit zo'n bedrijf hier. Nou, dat heeft fiscale redenen. En ze hebben ergens anders in Europa wel activiteiten. En dan laten ze hun geldstromen via Nederland lopen, waardoor ze dus fiscale voordelen hebben.
Nou, Walmart is wel leuk. Zal ik even hoe dat... Want Walmart, dat schrijf je officieel, of kijk, hoe was het ook alweer? Daarom vonden we hem niet. Kijk maar nou zo.
Het staat natuurlijk niet altijd onder de naam van. Nou, je kunt een willekeurige naam gebruiken. Je hoeft niet te zeggen per se Apple Nederland.
Dus er staat sinaasappel BV.
Kan.
Dat zou kunnen.
En hoe kom je dan ooit achter dat ze...
Nou, dat is enorm erg. Soms, bij Walmart bijvoorbeeld, Walmart is hier actief met coöperatie. Totaal andere namen hebben. Blue Leaf of zoiets, of een hele rare Engelse namen. Hoe hebben die nu gevonden? Door gewoon op het adres te zoeken van een trustkantoor. En eigenlijk, dan krijg je een enorme lijst met namen, hè. Soms al 2000. Dus soms gewoon aanklikken en hopen dat je dan moet je de jaarrekening opvragen. En in de jaarrekening staat soms dat ze een onderdeel zijn van het Walmart-concern. Kijk, Walmart bijvoorbeeld, die zit hier. De Russia Holding, alles wat in Rusland gebeurt, hangt hier onder dus deze Nederlandse BV. Uiteindelijk gaat dat weer terug hier naar een moeder, een LCC in de US.
Maar ze vertellen dus heel keurig dat ze onderdeel zijn van de Walmart.
Kijk, je ziet ook pure brievenbusfirma. Er werkt helemaal niemand. Het is gevestigd bij een trustkantoor. En hier zie je ook, ze hebben 4 managing directors die ook helemaal geen beloning ontvingen.
Misschien kun je het even teruggaan naar het begin. Het staat er ook vaak bij. Ja, Naritaweg is een trustkantoor.
Dus dat is een red flag eigenlijk voor jullie meteen als je dat adres...
Wij kennen die adressen,
die adressen, er zijn een aantal adressen, die kennen wij. Ja. Nou, hier zie je eigenlijk, nou ja, qua omvang...
Dat is helemaal niets, 3000 euro.
Er zit 3000 euro in.
Maar dat zegt dus niets. Nee. Er kunnen miljarden doorheen zijn gestroomd.
En hoe lang is dat in Nederland?
Dat kan
1 seconde in Nederland, of een fractie van een seconde in Nederland zijn.
Het stroomt door die BV heen.
Maar wat zegt dat je dan?
Nou, dat het toch wel groot is voor Nederland. Ongeveer 11.000 miljard euro, wat elk jaar door Nederland stroomt. En dat kan van alles zijn. Investeringen, leningen, en ja, wat er van terugkomt, royalties, rente.
Waar zou je dat mee kunnen vergelijken?
Nou,
het is 3 tot 4 keer het bruto nationaal product van Nederland. Zeg ik dit trouwens nog goed? 3 tot 4, hè? Wat hebben we nog?
Nee, het is toch... nee, het is 20 keer.
20 keer?
20 keer het bruto binnenlands product. Recht tegenover ons aan het Prins Bernhardplein te Amsterdam zit een van de grootste trustkantoren ter wereld, namelijk Intertrust. En daar kijken wij dagelijks op uit.
En wat gebeurt daar dan?
Daar worden dus alle brievenbusvennootschappen beheerd.
Maar welke bedrijven zitten daar bijvoorbeeld?
BBC, hè?
Ja.
BBC World zit hier. Gazprom.
Ja.
Gazprom zit hier ook. Maar als je bijvoorbeeld kijkt naar de Kamer van Koophandel, je typt bijvoorbeeld dit adres uit, dan zie je dan waarschijnlijk 2000 firmanamen.
2000.
Ja.
Heb je dat gedaan?
Ja. Maar ze zijn tot nu toe niet erg op journalisten. Ook collega's van ons, er zijn er weinig die... volgens mij is nog niemand van ons binnen geweest daar.
Nee, klopt.
Maar hebben jullie wel eens aangebeld?
Ja, ik heb wel eens gebeld, ja. En toen heb ik gevraagd of ze me door wilden verbinden met de persvoorlichting. En dat wilden ze niet. Toen heb ik gevraagd, hebben jullie dan? Jawel. Maar verder dan de receptie ben ik nooit gekomen.